Hey guys, welcome back to another Flesh and Blood video. This video is proudly brought to you by the House of Cards, the official sponsor of my stream. Be sure to check out the link in the description below for all of your Flesh and Blood needs. Victor vs. Kayo is still a staple of the current CC metagame, and I continue to love and learn more about this matchup every single time I play it. Kayo is one of the few heroes in the current CC metagame that takes away Victor's inherent ability to just win clashes for free, which means we have to cut Trounce from our list, only relying on Tests of Strengths to block for 4 and try to draw some cards. Kayo also has the ability to put together 25 and 30 damage turns that spread across 3 or 4 chain links, and turns like that can really put you on the back foot as a Guardian player. The name of the game against Kayo is block as much as you can and take your spots when you find them. Thanks for stopping by, guys. I hope you enjoyed the match. So we're playing against Kayo, and the debate here is, do I Arsenal Rouse, or do I just go ahead and throw the Rouse the Ancients and then Arsenal the Debilitate? I'm thinking that we're better off to just go ahead and throw the Rouse and really apply pressure to my opponent. I think this is a pretty solid line here. We're starting off with 7 go again. Also notice that my opponent loaded 66 cards into this matchup as to where I only loaded 60, so we're going to have to be a little bit aware of that as we play through this. Has a Wild Ride on top, okay. And then we'll go ahead and throw the Hammer here. He's given us 2 blues to this point, so we'll see if we can leak another point of damage. Yep. All right, so we managed to push through 2 points on turn 0, which is pretty good. And then, wow, this hand is interesting, to say the least. That hand is really interesting. I imagine it's going to be blocked with both of our Tests of Strengths. We're going to hope we win the first one so that we don't have to reclash, and then we're probably going to E-Strike to put the Pummel on the bottom. If I had to guess, that's probably what our turn's going to end up looking like. It does really depend on what our opponent does this turn, though. I'm intrigued by their, like, sleeve backs. Shiny cardboard, daily fab gameplay. Interesting. So, let's see here. They create a Might token. Let's give the Test of Strength and just go ahead and see if we can... We do win with a Chokeslam, which is not exactly what we wanted to see. I wanted to win with a blue 8 there, but, you know, beggars can't be choosers and all that. Is Chokeslam better than Pummel in the deck? I don't think, like, we're going to block 7 here, so we're going to block Tests of Strength, and we probably want to block... I kind of want to block 7 and just be efficient here, I think. Nice, you like to see it. You love to see it, so we win with a... We win with a Thunk on top, which means that we make an extra Might when we win that clash. So we're sitting pretty good. Looking pretty clean so far from the ability to be able to have 2 gold to reclash if we need to. Although there's only 1 more Test of Strength left in the deck, so reclashing is like, we'll see. We'll see how it comes up the rest of the game. Okay, so we have put 3 cards into our deck at this point. 2 blues and a Pummel, so we're looking to put something with that here that we could potentially use. So he's just going to play Cast Bones after this, I feel like. I think this is just going to be Cast Bones. I don't really want to take 6, but we might just be looking at... So what I could do is block Thunk and Thunderquake and then throw the Debilitate, keeping the Chokeslam in the deck, and then put the Chokeslam back, so that'll be our 4th card for pitch stack. I think that's a decent line, because we know there's a Cast Bones on top, so we know that he's going to play the Cast Bones here and set up for next turn. And he hits all 6s. Let's see, 2 blues. I'm sorry, 3 blues, Pack Hunt, Swing Big, and Command and Conquer. Okay. Sounds good. So we know that, I mean, I guess this could be like a Blood Rush. It could have been the next card. He could have arsenaled it right there. Would have been pretty good for him. Let's go ahead and just attack with the Debilitate. The -2 might not be super relevant because honestly, it's like he has 4 mites instead of 6 if he decides to let this hit. So We'll see how my opponent decides to block. I mean, more than likely, it makes sense for my opponent to give me a card in like Apex here. All right, just decides to go to 22. So we're gonna go Chokeslam and tear Asunder. We've now put 6 cards back into our deck. He did have the Blood Rush. That is, I feel like that's to draw Cast Bones and Blood Rush off the top of the deck like that. Pretty, I would say it's pretty lucky. That's pretty good draw. So this is for 12. I mean, I can just give 9 and the balance here and take 1. I mean, I'd really like to draw a card, I think, here. I think that we want to draw a card to block with. Like this is 5, and then we have more coming afterwards, so we'll just go ahead and draw a card here. I think that's the correct play. Okay, I mean, I hate to block with the Spinal Crush, but, you know, it is what it is. A card like Savage Feast could punish us if we give the Quicken token here. Savage Feast is probably the one and only card that could punish us here if we give up the Quicken token. Runner would give them an agility for next turn, so I think we'll just block 3. We'll save the Civic Steps for a better turn. And I mean, yeah, like we're just taking 10 here. Like they took some damage to really set up a big turn to try to crawl back into the game, and now the life totals are more even. And I have given up my Balance of Justice, so I would say that was a pretty efficient turn cycle for them. If we had a Surge, there might have been some consideration to keep the Golden Sun and take 3, and just like I would have ended up being at 22, so that I would have been able to throw 10 there. But we did not have a Surge, and I don't think it was worth taking 6 to be able to throw 10. That was a big turn for my opponent, and I just wanted to block as efficiently as possible. It seems like my opponent really understands that their role in this matchup is the on-again, off-again turn cycle, and how they like to play this game. So it seems like they understand their role in this matchup pretty well. So if I block 3 and take 4, I can throw Spinal Crush, make a Surge, which I think I need to be doing here. So we had just put 6 cards. That's the 7th card we put into our deck with the Disable right there. Let's just go ahead and block with Debilitate. Take 4, go to 21, and we'll throw the Spinal Crush. I'm intrigued that my opponent's running Clash of Might into me. Like, I don't know. Like, they're probably under the concept of, like, clashing for them isn't very bad into me. And to be fair, it's not. Like, the Clash winning percentage in this matchup is extremely 50-50. There's a lot of like it's extremely 50-50 in this matchup. Went ahead and gave me Bone Breaker there. Gave me the Bone Breaker just to get the might, just to push the extra point there. So let's see. This is cards 7 and 8 into our deck. Geez, these hands are not lining up well together at all for me. So I guess let's give Sink Below here and then bottom the Test of Strength. I think that's the play. We'll take 3. Yeah, I can give the Sink Below, take 3, go to 18, and then throw the Command and Conquer. So this is the 9th card I've put into my deck. Make a Surge, throw the Command and Conquer. And then Arsenal the Sink Below is setting up pretty well. That's like, we've had 2 Test of Strengths in one hand, and then we had another hand. In 6 turns, we had 2 Test of Strengths in one hand, and then we had 2 Sink Belows in a test in another hand. That's pretty awkward, I feel like. Double Beast Within's probably not super efficient for my opponent either, though, so... all right, Macho Grande's card number 10 into our deck that we're putting back. I think we're just going to give both the Thunderquakes here and just throw the Debilitate. Like, that's 100% the plan here. Yeah. I mean, I guess if he has another 2-coster here, like in his arsenal, like I get punished by giving him both of my cards that early. But I was like, I'm planning to, even if he discards the windup there, it'd have to be specifically a 2-coster that he'd want to play. So I'm definitely playing to the idea of being able to just block efficiently and then throw my Debilitate. I could have gotten punished there. It's worth noting that I could have gotten punished right there in that situation, but I think we made the correct play. All right, that is card number 11 back into my deck. So let's see. This is 8 go again. I'd really like to be able to keep the E-Strike and the Golden Sun here. I am thinking he has 1 card in hand, 2 floating. I don't think there's a way for us to get punished by blocking with the Civic Steps here. Pretty sure blocking with the Civic Steps is a pretty safe block here. Probably should have used it last turn because he had the agility this turn. It's like a 100% free way to play this matchup, but I think my opponent's now debating how they want to move forward based off of what I did. I think I'm okay taking 3 to see what they do here because I'd like to be able to throw my E-Strike. But if they're going to attack me again here, then we are definitely just going to be blocking. So let's just go ahead and block 6. Yeah, let's go to 13. I think this is fine. We don't really have a hand that can do anything effectively if we use our sync to like try and play like in a more offensive fashion. So I think that's an okay line of play for us. We are down 5 points. We are winning the equipment battle, but we are down 5 points. So we need to try and use our equipment to get us back into the game in a proper way. So we're going to give Wallop and the Sink Below here. I don't even know if I want to sink anything. Like, I guess I could. I mean, there's 1 more Sink Below in the deck. What's a card that is relevant here that I could draw? I mean, if I sink anything, it's going to be the Disable. I want to Arsenal the Pummel, I think, to like try and set up here. It's interesting that he's playing No Fears into me. I think we'll just pass on sinking here. And just go ahead and shut the turn down there. It is worth noting that we could try to crack some golds and like draw into a couple of blues and throw the Disable here, but I think we're better off to just throw Hammer, try to use equipment efficiently whenever a turn comes up for us to use our Pummel, and then we'll be in a pretty good spot. So this is going to be cards number 13 and 14 we're putting back into our deck. So we're definitely pitching cards much slower this game. I'm going to assume it's another Blood Rush that my opponent has. So this is a wind-up incoming here, 100%. It would be nice to be able to play the Command and Conquer Pummel here. I don't know. So what I'd have to do is block with the Thunk, and then I'd have to pitch Debilitate and Rouse to play the Command and Conquer is how I would have to go about doing that. I'm going to give the Aegis here and see how they move forward. I don't know that giving the Orem Aegis there is the correct play, but I think it's a better play for me. So let's go 3, and we can just take 4 and go to 7, right? Like, I think that's okay if we just take 4 and go to 7. We could give the Civic Steps, knowing that if they're going to play around the Command and Conquer Pummel, they're not going to be able to utilize that because it'd be a minimum of 2 cards and their three pieces of equipment to block 10. So they'd be left with 2 cards in their arsenal. I mean, I get they have the agility, so like this is just a free block here, actually. Yeah. So since they have the agility, it's just a free block regardless, so it doesn't matter what we do. And we are going to overpitch so that they cannot get us with a Scowling Fleshbag here. We're trying to take the Scowling Fleshbag off the table and make it like more irrelevant. So I really like this is kind of interesting because I had 2 blues that I could have kept to try and throw the Pummel, like to throw Command and Conquer Pummel so that I could make a Surge for next turn, which would in turn make a Golden Sun better, a Debilitate, a Chokeslam that's coming up. But playing with 2 blues, you can get fleshbacked one of your blues, and so then you're not able to play your Pummel. But playing this way, we're actually able to pitch a red and play around the Scowling Fleshbag, which is a really neat interaction. It allows me to keep a more powerful card in my deck, and it also allows me to play the Pummel and play around Scowling Fleshbag here. Getting the Pummel into your arsenal in this matchup is very important, unless you have an opponent who gives you Scowling Fleshbag pretty early. Now, if I go second, like if my opponent goes first and I go second, and I have the ability to, my opponent said they're thinking here, no problem. And my opponent has the ability to actually, if my opponent goes first and I go second, and my hand is like 2 blues, Chokeslam, and a Spinal Crush, and I want to arsenal the Spinal Crush. What I'm going to do is I would actually just throw Chokeslam without making a surge so that I can actually bluff the Pummel, and I can potentially get Scowling Fleshbag out of the way as early as turn 0. Now, I think some people would realize that like they don't need to give me the Scowling Fleshbag there, that they can just wait, but I do think that it's a good play. I will also throw Command and Conquer. Okay, that works for me. I will also throw Command and Conquer early on in the game if it means playing around something like that. So this card's 15 and 16 back into the deck. So this is 9 go again. Really don't want to start taking a whole bunch of damage here, but I would like to be able to block 3. We could block 7, take 2, go to 6, and throw Spinal Crush and force 2 cards out of my opponent's hand. But the problem is that 2 cards is like pretty good for them, and the more damage we take, the like worse spot we get into playing against a pulping late in the game. Also, they have cards like Blood Rush, but I really don't think that blocking with 3 cards and then pitching Rouse to throw Titan's Fist is a winning line here. So I think we're forced to like kind of block like this. Now, also an interesting thing that we could do here, if we pitch the Rouse to draw gold and draw into a blue, since we're only 16 cards into our deck, we don't know pitch stack yet, we can draw, and if we draw into a red, we throw the Spinal Crush like we can anyway, because we'll have 1 floating. If we draw blue, we actually get to throw the Spinal Crush, threatening the Pummel again here. So I think this is worth cracking a gold and trying to make a play happen here. And now, because we drew a blue, we are now in the same spot we were in, where we're throwing Spinal Crush and we are threatening Pummel. And like back-to-back turns, like we blocked we've used our equipment efficiently to block, and then we're still in a position where we're going to try and use our Pummel to buy us some tempo here. I do think cracking the gold was correct there. I have recently made a couple of plays where I think cracking the gold to try and put myself ahead further was like maybe a little bit of a misstep, but we're down 8 points late in the game, and I think we're like running out of windows where I think I'm just going to go ahead and play it. Like, don't get me wrong, like the Spinal Crush would have been fine the way it was, but I want to take a card out of their hand and push damage, and I don't know when I'll be able to play it again. So I think instead of being greedy, I'm just going to play it. But I've made a couple of plays lately where I've just like kind of been playing like a little greedy, I think, and like trying to get it further ahead. But I think I'm running out of windows to use my equipment to get back into the game here. 17, 18, 19. Three, 4, 5, 6, take 4, unless there's like a no fear or something in your hand. I mean, we have the best potential at closing out the game here, I think. So let's go for it. I mean, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which has them taking exactly 4. So short of a Reckless Swing or a no fear, we're going to be able to close the game out this turn. 19 cards into our deck. It's worth noting we'll be 21 cards into our deck after this. Okay, so they go to 1. We're not going to be able to heave. And we are going to go 2021. So we are now 21 cards into our deck, which means we have 3 cards, unknown cards, and then we have our first pitch stack card coming, which I know is a blue. I can't remember which blue off the top of my head, but I know it's a blue. Now, he's probably just going to give the flesh bag here if I had to guess. My opponent still has to give another card here. Or they're dead? I think they miscounted. My opponent's turn 2 ended on a cast bones with them arsenaling a Blood Rush Bellow, allowing them to push upwards of 20 and 30 points on turn 3, which really put me behind, and sometimes, depending on how hot Kayo draws, you never find a window to get back into the game from there. Luckily for us, on turn 5, our opponent had a pretty weak hand where all they threw was a Clash of Might for 7, which enabled us to take a little bit of damage and then throw a Spinal Crush back at them to try to crawl back into the game and start taking cards out of our opponent's hand. The biggest part of the game that really swung tempo in my favor was when I was able to use my equipment to still able to throw the Command and Conquer and threaten Pummel without getting blown out by Scowling Fleshbag, using the red and the blue to like kind of overpitch there. That turn really gave me a lot of tempo and put me back in a good position to try and start throwing a lot of damage at my opponent. The play to crack the gold to actually be able to throw the Spinal Crush with the Pummel was pretty heads up, and I think that the more you play Victor, the more you start to see lines like that and you're giving yourself the available options, because I could have just thrown the Spinal Crush there and left the Pummel, but playing to an out of being able to allow myself to push upwards of 13 points of damage on one turn with a Pummel effect is really good and can really put me in a decent spot that late in the game. At the very end of the game where my opponent just ended up taking 1 point of damage and dying to the Thunderquake, I'm pretty sure they had 0 blocks in their hand and that they couldn't physically block any more damage that was on there. I didn't talk to them afterwards, so I don't know for sure, but I think they just had no blocks and they couldn't block out anymore there. Guys, if you see anything you think I missed, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear about it. If you liked the video, be sure to like and subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take it easy, guys.